This is Before the Pitch, where you can love New York baseball no matter what shade of blue you are wearing. I am Scott, and Billy is still not here. He is on a long out-of-state Christmas vacation where he's enjoying a wonderful time with his family. He sends his best wishes, and we are keeping him here in the form of a Mets hat this week. But with this downtime in the off season, it gives me perfect time to talk about something I love to talk about for a long time. Giancarlo Stanton. Yes, I have his name on the back of the jersey, and no, I don't care what you think about that. If you'd like to see what I think about Yankee uniforms, you can click right up here. And if you'd like to see what I think about those Nike swooshes on the uniforms, you can also click on that right here. So here's why I want to talk about why I love Giancarlo Stanton. I first want to talk about his work ethic. How easily would it have been for a guy like him to just come waltzing into the Yankees, trying to take over the entire operation, probably run his mouth a little bit, get kind of cocky, but he doesn't do that. You could almost say it's very easy for him, or anyone in that situation, to have walked in and been very Alex Rodriguez-esque about the whole thing, or like a Bryce Harper-esque. But he doesn't. Giancarlo keeps his mouth shut, and he works hard. His reports, he's always one of the first people that gets there during the day, one of the last people to leave. He's always working hard. He keeps his mouth shut. He's a team player, and I just admire that from someone who has every reason not to do that, but he takes it upon himself to have the good character and the good work ethic to make the best choices. And that's something I think everyone should be gravitating towards, especially in a post-Jeter era, where that's one of the most valued parts of Jeter. You would think more people would gravitate towards that. And I'm disappointed that some of them haven't. Let's talk about his actual playing. Now, I could just sit here and just rattle off his stats, but I really want to talk about the perspective of it. 2018 was one of the top 3 years of his career statistically, no matter really which way you kind of slice that pie. He scored 102 runs. That's the second most of his career. He has 100 RBI, third most of his career, and 100 is great. But, you might be saying, that also depends on his teammates getting on base and hitting him in. Absolutely. But he is capitalizing on people who are on base. Is he the most clutch guy in the world? No. Hopefully that tide's going to be turning, and that's a flaw. But you can't per se say he has been unproductive, especially with 38 home runs, which is great. The second most of his career, second only behind his Mount Olympus season of 2017. Keep in mind, he also has more doubles and triples in 2018 than he did in 2017. I got the numbers right for. Oh, he also has 70 walks. The dude gets on base. That's pretty awesome. And that's going to come into play a little bit later when I talk about his effect on the lineup. Every way you really slice this pie, it's one of the best years of his career. Is it as good as 2017? No. Not every year is going to be. And I don't think a year is ever going to come close. Here's the thing you have to understand about 2017. That year is an anomaly. If anyone knows anything about math or statistics, you know there is the bell curve that represents data and stats. A lot of times the bell curve is shifted over inaccurately because of things like outliers, which mathematicians would oftentimes not even count when trying to determine stats for a bunch of stuff and trying to determine trends. You have to look at 2017, as fantastic as it was, as the outlier. You cannot always compare to that. And even compared to that, he still had a pretty darn good 2018. Keep in mind, he only had 4 less hits in 2018 than he did in 2017. That's awesome. I think it was at 164, and 2017 was 168. You can't say this guy was not offensively productive. Timely, that's a different story. But offensively productive was definitely there. Which brings it to the big flaw that people talk about, the high amount of strikeouts. Now, this comes along with, this is just how baseball is today. If you don't like it, I get it. I do not think it is the best strategy to commit to for an entire lineup, but a high home run, high strikeout guy is fine for a lineup. 2 of them could be fine. 3 is pushing the envelope. Yankees have 3 of these: Gary, Judge, and Giancarlo. That's a lot of strikeouts between those 3 guys, believe it or not. It's when you put them all together and things start adding up, that's when problems start occurring, which is the reason why I did not want Bryce Harper, because he would have been just the 4th guy adding to that. When you have 4 out of 9 guys in your lineup striking out a lot, that's an issue, which is the reason why DJ Mayhew was such a blessing, was because he didn't do that. He didn't strike out as much, put the ball in play a little bit more, which is great. The trouble comes from when all these guys are slumping at the same time. Let's talk about why Giancarlo strikes out a lot. Now, if you notice, he stands like this, and everyone in the world's made fun of it. I thought it was goofy too. But you have to really understand why. He's trying to take advantage of right field. He's even said in an interview with Alex Rodriguez where both of them talked about facing your hips inwards so you can capitalize on right center field in or just any ballpark, because they believe that's where their power is strongest when they're going. Giancarlo turns a little bit more. He wants to take advantage of that short right field because he's so strong that a line drive just swoops right over. It's not towering, and you see that a lot in his 2018 home runs that are to right field. They are lasers. Keep in mind, this dude hits baseballs at record speeds. He only had how many at-bats in 2019? He had like 3 of the hardest hit balls all year. Think about that. That is awesome. Keep in mind, his 2019 stats are 288 batting average and a 403 on-base percentage. He was, for the short amount of time we saw him in 2019, he was productive. You cannot say he was not, especially in the postseason. We'll get to that in a sec. But the idea behind this is he's trying to hit line drives, believe it or not, but he wants to hit it further back in the zone so he can push it this way. Kind of hard to perceive that depth in the camera. I apologize for that. He wants to hit the ball further back, which is why when he strikes out, he's behind the pitch. He's intentionally trying to swing behind. And the Yankees were okay with this because a strikeout means it's not a double play ground out. So it's only 1 out instead of 2. That's a philosophy going around. Again, that's fine for 1 or 2 guys. It's when you add those people up with the same approach, problems start occurring, which I do believe is part of the problem in the American League Championship Series this year. Regardless, he should be in a lineup that can cover up for that mistake. That's bound to happen, especially with him and Judge. He also needs to rise to maybe a couple more clutch occasions than he has been doing. And that's the biggest flaw with his swing, is he could be behind the fastball. He's looking for the outside fastball so he can hit it that way. He also destroys inside curveballs. The reason why is because he can get his bat out in front of it. And those are the ones where you look at it and you say, holy crap, did he crush that one? Those tend to be inside curveballs. Not every time. And low fastballs. Or low curveballs. Anything low in the zone. When he decides he wants to go get them, he can do some damage with them. The problem is, and I think there's a problem with Judge too, the umpires don't help them, so they really do not have a good grasp on that bottom part of the zone, and that's something I think both of them can improve on. But if you were to critique this, then you have to critique, be consistent at least, and critique this is the approach that a lot of players are taking in baseball. Again, I like it for a few guys. I don't think you should commit to that as the entire approach for the entire lineup. But if you think that production does not outweigh the strikeouts, I can understand why you believe that approach, and I think that's fair. So now that we understand that, let's talk about why he has such an effect on the lineup just by writing his name in it. Think about this. 2019 American League Divisional Series. I'm saying years so many times. I'm trying not to say 2020. He had a good, productive series against the Twins. A lot of walks, and he drove in some runs through some sac flies, through some singles. We know that home run he hit against Zach Greinke against the Astros in Game 1 of the championship series. There's no way you can cut it where he did not have a good postseason. Now, he walked a lot, which is a good thing. Here's why. Writing his name in the lineup does damage because it forces the pitcher to make decisions and make tough decisions. Well, I can't pitch around and walk everybody, so I have to decide who I'm throwing to. LeMahieu, Judge, Giancarlo, Gary, or Torres. Luke Voit. Who's the guy I have to pitch to? That's why he's important. That's why he was part of the reason why he was effective in the divisional series against the Twins. He walked a lot so Glaber can hit him in. It's a really good strategy, guys. You put this guy in the lineup, good stuff happens. Pitchers don't want to pitch to him. They pitch around him. They're scared to give him something hittable. But they work to his flaw, which is that low half of the zone where if the umpire is not helping him out, he's in some trouble. 2019, the few times we saw strides towards him having a much better concept of the zone, which is the part of the reason why I think he slammed that bat when he walked in Game 1 of the divisional series against the Twins. It was a sign of relief of, yes, I did it, and that showed, to me, was a surge of confidence. Yes, my strategy that I have against the zone does work now, and I can continue to do that, and I can do damage to the series, which he absolutely did, and he did Game 1 of the American League Championship Series. Now, why do I think people hate this guy so much? Two reasons. One, like I said, a lot of strikeouts, easy to pick on the guy for that. But again, if you hate that, you have to also critique Aaron Judge on that same thing. If those are similar problems. And for the last time, I'm okay with a few people doing that. I hate it when the entire lineup is going off of that. I don't think the Yankees do, by the way. Not anymore, at least. But the more philosophical reason, New York baseball needs a villain. We haven't had a villain in a long time. When you really think about it, the last villain of New York baseball was Alex Rodriguez. And that was a while ago. So it's easy to find the villain in the guy who makes that much money. Because, who makes the money is the bad guy. So he becomes the target in that way, and I think that's unfair. Especially with the way fans say they want to boo him. Why would you want to boo the guy on your team? I don't understand that. The worst thing you could say is nothing. If you really disapprove of something, don't say anything. You should want him to come up to the plate with the best approach that he can. Maybe he is in a slump, but shouldn't you want him to be in the right headspace to break out of that slump? You know what's not going to help that? Your ass booing from all the way up there. That just makes things worse. I don't understand this. Like, I want him to fail. Why do you want him to fail? Why do you want a guy on your team to fail? I don't want anyone on the Yankees to fail. I don't understand. I think that this comes from a place of fan entitlement. Almost in a way of gatekeeping. Like, you work for me. This is my favorite one. It's my job to sit here and boo and out like, no. Having a job implies that you are getting paid to do something. You're not getting paid to go to a ball game. You are paying to go to the ball game, as in you are asking for permission to view the ball game. The Yankees own your rear end, not the other way around. You do not have a job if you are a fan. Your job is to follow the rules. Now, is booing is allowed? Obviously, yes, it is allowed. But to sit there and say, it's my job to let you know when you... No, it's not. You think they don't know when they screw up? You think they don't know when they don't have a bad game? They know. And they put enough pressure on themselves. They have coaches. They're experts. And for the record, they know more than you do. Which is why they're in the dugout and you're sitting on the bleachers just running your mouth. Like a boomer. I'm joking about that last part. I love boomers. My parents are boomers. You gotta love boomers. But yeah, that's an adjustment I think the Yankee fandom could make. Be less of a jerk to struggling players. Be less of a jerk to players on the Yankees who you don't like. Hope for the best. Help them get to the best that they can be. Because you, sitting up there, running your mouth about mindless things that you're likely wrong about, is the reason why you have beer spilt all over your t-shirt and balancing popcorn on your belly and not on the field being productive. That's all I got to say. If you guys like this video, make sure to comment and subscribe. Happy New Year to everybody. Hope you guys like the new logo, especially that Statue of Liberty one. Technically can't say it's a Statue of Liberty. It's a green hand holding a gold object. It's technically not the Statue of Liberty because Statue of Liberty is trademarked. So I can't really say that. Adios, guys. Make sure you find us on Twitter, and we will keep in touch.